Clara took her ex-husband and his child away in our wedding car, the one meant to take us to our new life together. She had pushed me out of the vehicle without a moment's hesitation, her voice unnervingly calm as she instructed me. "You can take a cab to the wedding venue first. Leo seems to have gotten lost at the airport, and the child is mine to look after. He and his son are my responsibilities for life. I have to make sure he gets settled before I can think about my own future." My own voice was a hoarse whisper when I asked the question that felt like it was tearing my throat apart. "What about me?" She looked at me then, her eyes firm and unwavering, a look I had once found reassuring. "You're my true love, Alex. You're my future." The next second, she slammed the car door shut. The long procession of hundreds of other wedding cars, all our friends and family, followed her as she drove off into the distance, leaving me behind. I stood there on the roadside, still dressed in my groom's suit, a ridiculous figure who was caught between crying and laughing like a complete fool. My phone began to flash with a familiar number, and I wiped the tears from my eyes to answer it. A woman's voice, sounding slightly put out, came through the speaker. "Alex, I joked about crashing your wedding, and you actually got so scared you didn't even show up?" I replied, my voice devoid of all emotion. "There's no need to crash it anymore, Mia. Let's just get married instead." I went to the nearest mall and bought a simple change of clothes, stuffing the expensive groom's suit I had been so proud to wear into a public trash can. My phone was overwhelmed with dozens of missed calls from my parents and our friends, but among them were only a few messages from Clara, each one a fresh stab to my already wounded heart. "Alex, I couldn't get a hold of you. I had a temporary issue, so I had Leo act as the groom in your place. I never had a proper wedding with him, so this can be a way to make it up to him for that." Another message followed. "Make sure you thank Leo when you see him. He's a grown man trying to take care of a child all on his own, and it was really difficult for him to get through the ceremony with me." And then another. "Oh, and I'm taking Leo home with me first. He needs me to take care of him, to find some support for my big child. You understand? He's my ex-husband. I can't just abandon my responsibility to him. You wouldn't want me to be a heartless person, would you?" I stared at the screen, a bitter smile twisting my lips. Yes, she was certainly a woman who overflowed with loyalty and care, but that loyalty was, and had always been, reserved exclusively for Leo. When Leo's girlfriend had passed away, Clara had taken an overnight flight to the United States to be with him, to mourn with him. I couldn't understand it at the time, but for her, it was the most natural thing in the world. "He's my ex-husband, Alex," she had explained. "Even if the love is gone, there's a familial bond. He needs me right now." And that 12,000-kilometer journey was all for the purpose of bringing his child back with her, hiding it under the guise of it being their shared responsibility. An invisible hand felt like it was squeezing my heart until it could burst. I looked up, blinking hard to force back the tears that threatened to fall. My decision was made. I would go home, pack my things, and leave this entire absurd nightmare behind me. When I opened the front door to what was supposed to be our home, I found Leo in the kitchen. He was wearing an apron and was busily setting the dining table. The moment he saw me, he greeted me with the casual air of someone who owned the place. "You must be Alex. Let's just consider each other brothers from now on. Come on, have a seat. Dinner is ready." Clara was standing just behind him, her movements fluid and natural as she helped him untie his apron, her fingers lingering for a moment too long at his waist. "I told you we have a maid for this. You shouldn't be cooking when you have a child to look after." Leo lowered his head, a theatrical display of emotion as he wiped at the corners of his eyes. "But you've always loved my cooking. You look like you've lost weight since you came back home." Clara quickly and tenderly wiped his tears away with her thumb. All right. With you here to take care of me, I'm sure I'll be back to my healthy self in no time. She then turned to me, a bright smile on her face. Alex, you have to come and taste Leo's cooking. I'm telling you, I've missed this taste for 2 whole years. Staring at her familiar, doting expression, I suddenly understood. It wasn't the food she had missed. It was the man who made it. It was no wonder she always seemed to lose her appetite whenever I cooked for her. It wasn't that my meals were bad, but that even her stomach only craved the person she was truly in love with. A wave of aching bitterness filled my chest. I walked straight past them toward the bedroom. I'm tired. I need to get some rest. Leo, taken aback, blinked in confusion as tears quickly welled up in his eyes. Clara, does Alex not like me? As I expected, Clara couldn't bear to see him upset. Her face immediately darkened. Stop right there, she commanded. Leo has been through so much today, standing in for you as the groom at our wedding, and he even took the time to cook dinner for everyone. The least you could do is say thank you, but instead you're giving him this attitude. Thanks, I laughed, the sound bitter and hollow in the tense room. You abandoned me in the middle of the road to go pick him up. You had him stand in as the groom at our wedding, and now you're acting all lovey-dovey with him and his kid right in front of me. Clara, why don't you just be with him and stop pretending you give a damn about me? I've already explained the situation with the wedding. Clara's voice rose, sharp and defensive. Are you trying to bring up the past just to embarrass Leo? Leo quickly came over, attempting to take my hand in a gesture of reconciliation. Alex, Clara and I were together for a long time. We think of each other as family. I don't pay any mind to these things. Even with the child between us, I have no romantic feelings for her at all. If I did, why would we have ever gotten a divorce? Before I could even think of a response, he turned back to Clara, feigning a relaxed demeanor. I didn't realize Alex would mind our past so much. Maybe it would be best if I moved out. When we divorced, I promised I wouldn't disrupt your new life. You can just come and visit us sometimes. Just don't forget the child support. He sat down with a forced smile, picking up the pair of matching couples' bowls that Clara and I had bought together, and began to stuff rice into his mouth. But his tears kept falling, which he wiped away hastily with the back of his sleeve. He spoke through choked sobs. Don't worry, Alex. I'll leave as soon as I finish eating. I don't mind staying in a hotel. Before he finished his sentence, he started coughing violently, his sobs turning heart-wrenching. Baby, I'm so sorry. It seems your new uncle doesn't like us. Daddy can't give you a complete home. Clara rushed to his side instantly, wrapping her arms around him and soothing him gently. She looked up at me, her eyes filled with blame and disgust. Alex, what do you want? Do you want to push Leo to the brink of a breakdown? I ignored her, turning to head up the stairs. She relentlessly followed, blocking my path. Frustrated, she ran a hand through her hair. Leo and I are just family. There's nothing romantic between us. Why do you have to keep holding on to this? Family? I sneered. Do family members have children together? Clara, do you really think I'm that naive? Her brows knitted together in frustration, and she reluctantly began to explain. When Leo's ex-girlfriend passed away, he was on the verge of giving up on life. I agreed to help him raise this child to give him a reason to live. Suddenly, she grabbed my wrist, her grip desperate. Alex, your family has been doctors for generations. You're full of compassion and skill. You wouldn't be so cold-hearted as to leave someone to die, would you? Just think of it as saving Leo's life. Please, can you just let this go? Compassion and skill. I wrenched my arm free from her grasp, laughing sarcastically. You're wrong. I am cold-hearted. In fact, I want to watch him suffer. If he's miserable, then maybe you'll finally stop pining for him. A sharp slap landed hard across my face. Clara was breathing heavily, her eyes red with an anger I had never seen directed at me. If anything happens to him, you'll pay for it with your life. My right cheek was stinging, but the physical pain was nothing compared to the deep ache in my heart. In the 5 years we had been together, she had never once laid a hand on me. But for Leo, the poised and graceful Clara I knew had transformed into someone violent and unrecognizable. I felt a profound sense of defeat. "Clara, you've hit me, and you've cursed me. Let's just break up. We never even registered our marriage, and the vows at the wedding ceremony weren't even made to me. As far as I'm concerned, this whole thing has been a joke." She seemed stunned for a moment before she hugged me tightly. "Alex, come on. Don't be like this. I know the marriage certificate issue bothers you. We'll go get it in a few days, okay? Leo won't be here forever. Once he finds a place of his own, he'll move out. 2 years at the most. Trust me, he's a handsome, good-natured man. A lot of women like him. It won't be hard for him to find someone new." I cut her off, my voice cold. "He doesn't need to look. You're so concerned about him, you're obviously the best choice. You're already the child's mother, after all." She froze, pulling away from me sharply, a mocking smile forming on her lips. "You think you're the only man in the world for me, Alex? Weren't you the one who was begging to marry me in the first place?" I lowered my head, muttering under my breath. "Yeah, I had it coming. Our arranged marriage had been my grandmother's idea. My father had saved Clara's grandmother's life on the operating table 20 years ago. Though my dad had jokingly agreed to the arrangement back then, he never took it seriously. He always told me, my precious son should marry the one he loves. And yet, I had stubbornly fallen for Clara. 3 years ago, she went to the United States for her degree, and in a whirlwind romance married the gentle but strong-willed and poor Leo in Las Vegas. When I found out, I immediately suggested we cancel our engagement. But she knelt before me, her eyes filled with tears as she pleaded, "Alex, I only love you. I've already divorced him. Please, just forgive me this one time." I softened then, and I forgave her. It serves me right. A voice from downstairs broke the tension. "Clara, Alex is still young and a bit clueless about these things. You need to be more accommodating with him. Not like me. I've long gotten used to being the humble one." Leo stood at the doorway with his suitcase, forcing a smile and waving at us. "I'm heading off now. No need to see me out." "Get the hell out of here!" Clara suddenly shouted. But she was yelling at me. She shoved me aside to chase after him. I lost my balance and fell hard, tumbling down the entire flight of stairs. A searing pain shot through my body, and my vision started to fade to black. My limbs and head throbbed with a sharp, pulsing agony. But Clara just stepped right over me without so much as a second glance. She grabbed Leo from behind, her voice trembling. "Leo, where can you possibly go with your child? You don't know anyone here. Are you trying to drive me mad?" Leo wiped his tears away, stubbornly forcing a smile. "I can take care of myself. If all else fails, I'm sure there are plenty of women out there who might take us in." "I won't allow it," Clara snapped angrily, pulling him back into the house. As they walked past me, Leo feigned a look of concern. "Should I call Dr. Evans for Alex? He looks like he's pretty hurt." Clara glanced coldly down at me, curled up in a heap on the floor, her voice completely indifferent. "No need. He's a doctor himself. He can handle it." In the end, it was our housekeeper who couldn't stand to see me like that and called for an ambulance. When I woke up, it was the next day. The hospital room was empty, except for a single text message from Clara on my phone. "Sorry, I thought you were just faking it to get attention. I'm going with Leo to the child's checkup today. We'll come and see you tomorrow." I called the housekeeper and asked him to pack my necessary documents and send them to my parents' house. I was never going back to that place again. A nurse came in holding a CT scan and hesitated before speaking. "Alex, you'll need to stay for observation. You have a mild concussion. I heard you just got married yesterday. How on earth did this happen?" "I got hit by a mad dog. I replied, with a dry, humorless smile. It wasn't even a joke. Clara's behavior whenever Leo was involved was exactly like a guard dog protecting its most prized bone. Pushing past the sting in my heart, I called my parents to assure them I was fine. Later, while scrolling through social media, I saw a new photo set that Leo had just posted from the wedding. There were 8 pictures of him and Clara in sweet, intimate moments, with the center picture being a single rose sprinkled with morning dew. The caption read, "Love isn't what you say, it's what you do." I gave it a genuine thumbs up. That line hit home, a painful reminder of just how much Clara truly loved him. He adored roses, and Clara sent him a fresh bouquet every single week, without fail. They had daily video calls, which Clara always insisted were just 2 friends catching up. Every New Year, she would fly to the US to keep him company, so he wouldn't feel lonely. She never missed sending him a holiday gift, from specialty pastries to custom mooncakes. Whenever I questioned her about it, she would use that condescending tone of hers. "Alex, a marriage can end, but the responsibility doesn't. We will always have ties to each other that go beyond love. But what woman would willingly bear such a heavy burden for a man if there wasn't love involved?" A few minutes later, a voice memo from Leo came through. His tearful voice played, clearly on speaker for Clara to hear. "Clara, can we not get a divorce? You still love me, I know you do. So why did you agree to this arranged marriage?" Clara sighed softly, and her voice came through next. "Grandma gave the final word. She feels she owes Alex's family a life, and she insisted that the debt be repaid through our marriage. She can't stand unpaid debts. If it wasn't me, it would have been another family member, and I would have been cut from the family tree forever." "Do you like Alex?" Leo asked timidly. After a long, heavy pause, Clara's voice was chillingly calm. "No, I don't." A sharp pain suddenly gripped my chest. Honestly, I had always had my doubts. It always seemed like she wasn't really into me, but every time I asked her, she would look at me with that distant, unreadable gaze and say, "Alex, can't you feel how I treat you? Do I really need to say the words out loud?" Then she would sigh and say, "Fine. Listen clearly. You are my one true love." Looking back on it now, those words, true love, were probably just neutral terms for her, completely devoid of any real feeling. Suddenly, my phone buzzed with an incoming call. As soon as I picked it up, I heard Mia's excited yet anxious voice. "Alex, the wedding preparations are moving along nicely. We agreed to get married in a week, so don't you dare even think about backing out." Before I could respond, she added, "And if you do back out, I'll just move into your hospital and hire you as my full-time personal doctor. I'll keep you so busy you'll never have the chance to marry anyone else." I couldn't help but roll my eyes. "Mia, you've been making these tough threats since we were kids. When have you ever actually followed through on any of them?" "Alex, you've had a sharp tongue since day one. Just you wait until we're married. You'll see how I handle you." "Go ahead, try me." "I will." We both hung up, but the next second, I found myself laughing. Our families had been close friends for generations, and Mia was the classic childhood friend. Every time we met, we would either be bantering or arguing. When she confessed her feelings for me when we were 18, I thought it was just another one of her pranks and turned her down. Who knew she was actually serious and would pursue me relentlessly for years after that, right up until the day I got engaged to Clara. She had tearfully told me, "Alex, you'll never find someone as great as me." And yet, just yesterday, this stubborn girl had secretly planned to crash my wedding. Thinking about it, I couldn't help but smile. Maybe marrying this woman, who knew me inside and out and could always make me laugh, could actually be a very good idea. The door to my hospital room burst open, and Clara rushed in, her eyes bloodshot. She grabbed my arm and started dragging me out of the bed. "Alex, how dare you report what happened to Grandma? Now she wants to send Leo abroad." "I didn't report anything," I said, feeling dizzy from being pulled so abruptly. I repeated myself mechanically, trying to keep my balance. "You're still denying it?" she screamed, her breath trembling with rage. "What did Leo ever do to you? Just because he's my ex-husband. That's a fact that will never, ever change." I stared blankly at this woman who felt like a complete stranger, my voice hoarse. "Clara, yesterday he stood at the wedding venue wearing a groom's suit. All of our guests saw him. Grandma may be secluded in a temple, but she's not completely isolated from the world." Suddenly, Clara stopped dead in her tracks, as if she was waking up from a long dream. She clutched my wrist desperately. "Alex, my mind was a complete mess just now. I'm so sorry." Her voice trembled, and scalding hot tears fell onto the back of my hand. "Please, you have to talk to Grandma. You're the only one who can persuade her to let Leo stay." Seeing that I wasn't responding, she actually knelt down on the floor. "We'll go get the marriage license tomorrow. I'll agree to whatever you want. Just please help." I looked down at her shaking shoulders, and burst into laughter. "All right, I only have one condition." "Say it." She looked up urgently, her eyes wide with hope. "We cancel the engagement and we never see each other again." "Impossible! I can't lose you!" She jumped to her feet, her voice hoarse and raw like a trapped animal. "But I can't just abandon Leo either." I cut her off. "Relax. I'll tell Grandma that I was the one who dumped you. You're not to blame for any of this, all right?" I forced myself to walk out of the room, despite the dizziness that was overwhelming me. Clara hurriedly caught up to support me. "Alex, it's not what you think. Forget it. We'll get the license tomorrow, and then you can rest assured, okay?" She sped us to the airport VIP lounge. As we entered, we saw my grandmother waving kindly to me. "Alex, this time our family has wronged you." Then she shot a cold, piercing glance at Leo, who was slumped on the floor nearby. "We will never accept him or his child into this family." I took a deep breath, steeling myself. "Grandma, I want to make this work for them." As soon as the words left my mouth, Leo grabbed a wine bottle from a nearby table and smashed it over his own head. Blood immediately began to flow down his pale cheeks. Shoving Clara aside, he struggled to his knees and offered me a mocking grin. "Alex, if I'm dead, I won't be in your way anymore. Clara and I are innocent. I won't accept this baseless accusation." Before he could finish, he collapsed heavily onto the floor. My grandmother, who was a half-devout Buddhist, couldn't stand the sight of such violence. With a cold huff, she swept her sleeves and left the lounge without another word. In the now quiet VIP lounge, only Clara's heart-wrenching cries remained. "Alex, save him! You're a doctor. There must be something you can do." I steadied myself against a sofa, feeling an icy chill spread through me. After all these years together, she didn't even know that I was a physician, not a surgeon trained for these kinds of traumatic injuries. After calling for emergency medical help, I turned to leave. Suddenly, Clara grabbed another wine bottle and hurled it directly at me. Her gaze was terrifyingly cold. "Alex, how can you be so heartless? If anything happens to Leo, I will never let you live it down." The bottle struck the back of my head, sending a wave of intense pain and a disturbing warmth trickling down my neck. I felt dizzy and sank limply to the floor. In a daze, I saw a familiar figure burst into the room and deliver a swift punch that sent Clara sprawling to the floor. "You homewrecker! Getting the chance to marry Alex is the luckiest break you'll ever get, and you don't even have the decency to appreciate it. I'll teach you a lesson today." 2 days later, I woke up in a different hospital room. I saw Clara sitting by my bed, her face covered in bruises. When she saw me awake, her dull eyes suddenly lit up. "Alex, I misunderstood you. I thought you didn't want to save Leo." I didn't have the energy to respond to her. In her eyes, I would always be the villain. Seeing my silence, she leaned in close, speaking eagerly. "Alex, please, at least say something to me." I impatiently shut my eyes. "Get out." Clara's face darkened instantly, but she stubbornly stayed right where she was. Just then, the door opened, and Mia walked in, carrying a large bouquet of flowers. Seeing Clara, her pretty eyes narrowed dangerously. "Oh, look who it is! The homewrecker," she mocked. "I just stepped out for a minute to buy you some flowers and you managed to sneak back in." Clara sprang to her feet, her fists clenched so tightly her knuckles cracked. "Watch your language, miss. I don't appreciate being called a homewrecker, and seeing my husband is none of your business." Mia placed the flowers on the bedside table and sneered. "Husband! Clara, you've been married twice before. You should know how this works. You're kidding yourself. The man standing at the altar in the groom's suit wasn't my fiancé, Alex." "Fiancé?" Clara's voice rose as she turned towards me. "Alex, who is this wild woman? Explain yourself." Explain. I laughed coldly inside. I had told her countless times that I wanted to break off the engagement, and she had never once taken me seriously. After all the nasty things she had done to me for Leo's sake, even getting physical, I had completely lost all hope for this woman. Explain it to her? Why should I? I ignored her completely and looked weakly at Mia. "Mia, I'm feeling a little lightheaded." Mia immediately sat by my bed and naturally took my hand in hers. "Dr. Evans said you've had 2 concussions in just a few days. You need to get some rest." Her thumb began to gently stroke the inside of my wrist, an old, familiar action meant to soothe me. Clara's eyes were icy. "Let go of him." "Why should I?" Mia didn't even bother to look up at her. "Is it because you abandoned him in the wedding car? Or is it because you almost got him killed for your ex-husband?" Clara's expression stiffened. "It's all just a misunderstanding." Just then, Dr. Evans walked in. "Clara, your husband is awake now. There are some things we need to discuss." "Alex, I'll deal with you when I get back." Clara tossed this threat over her shoulder and left in a hurry. Once the hospital room door closed behind her, Mia suddenly hugged me tightly, her body trembling as if she was about to cry. "Alex, if you had just told me, I would have stopped you from suffering for 5 years with someone like Clara. I've wanted this man for years. Why should I let some twice-married woman ruin him?" I sighed and patted her on the back. It was a strange situation. I was clearly the one who was injured, but here I was, comforting her. "Mia, I'm not crying. So why are you?" "Can't a girl feel heartbroken for you?" She buried her face in my shoulder and wiped her tears away on my hospital gown. "I always taught you to be tough with women, but you only ever seemed to use that advice on me." I handed her a tissue. "Can you please wipe your tears with this instead?" She grinned mischievously, snuggling even closer. "You wipe them for me." I reached out to pinch her cheeks, and she retaliated by pulling at my hair. We always seemed to end up like this, leaving things in a state of playful chaos. Just as I was imagining whether our married life would consist of daily arguments like this, she suddenly pulled me in for a kiss, holding the back of my neck. My face went beet red, and I could see her ears turning red, too. Yet she tried to act calm and composed. "No more fights from now on. From now on, you just give me kisses, and I'll agree with whatever you want." Clara stood frozen in place, her ears buzzing from the doctor's words. "Your husband's external injuries are fine, but the child is already 5 years old and a bit underdeveloped. He'll need some care here at the hospital." 5 years old. She had gone to the States to find Leo only 3 years ago. This child couldn't possibly be theirs. Unable to fully process what Dr. Evans had said, Clara rushed back to my room, only to find me and Mia in a tender embrace. But her mind was reeling. She stormed to Leo's room. "Leo!" she yelled. "Why did you lie to me?" The man on the bed looked up, startled, his face still wet with fresh tears. "Clara, I don't know what you're talking about." She suddenly felt a wave of nausea. 3 years ago, he had used that same pitiful look to trick her into bed. Clara took a deep breath, her chest heaving with a mix of anger and betrayal. "You told me you were only with her because she was terminally ill. You said there was nothing between you two." Leo's eyelashes trembled violently as tears cascaded down his cheeks. "Clara, she forced me. I didn't want to," Clara scoffed. "She couldn't even get out of her own bed. How could she have possibly forced you? Leo, is anything you say ever the truth?" Her hands were shaking as she pointed to the small child lying next to him, her voice hoarse with emotion. "Did you know that even without this child, I would have taken care of you for the rest of your life? I told you, you're my ex-husband. You're my responsibility. But why did you have to lie to me? Why did you make me take on the role of a mother? It cost me Alex." Leo looked at her blankly. "Losing Alex? You didn't even like him, so why does it matter?" "Who said I didn't like him?" She clenched her fists, nearly shouting the words. Clara paused, surprised by her own outburst. A sense of panic began to bloom in her heart. She softened her tone. "Feelings can change, or maybe they never did. Initially calling me her one true love had just been an excuse. I was easy to please. A few simple words were enough to make my day. But later she had genuinely meant it, saying it with more and more sincerity each time. I was a good man, and I deserved to be loved." Leo looked heartbroken. "Clara, 1 month after we met, you were the one who insisted we get married. You claimed you had chosen me. Was that all in my imagination? You always talk about responsibility. But setting that aside, did you ever, even for a moment, love me?" The question made Clara reflect. 3 years ago, Leo had been a struggling student on a full scholarship, a man full of optimism and dreams, completely untethered by people or rules. He was so unlike me. Even when I was pressured into an arranged marriage with someone I didn't love, I never uttered a single word against it. My demeanor was frustratingly docile, completely devoid of defiance or grit. Not wanting a life of submission, to be a tool used to repay her grandmother's favors, she had rebelled by marrying Leo in the States within a month of meeting him. "Clara?" Leo raised his voice, his words choked with emotion. "Why is it so hard for you to even answer that one question?" His fingers were digging into his palms, but the answer was already clear. Whether she had ever loved him or not, Clara's prolonged silence was the only answer he needed. "Maybe, for a little while," Clara finally spoke, her voice scarily calm. 3 days into their marriage, she had regretted everything. At a family event, she had purposely let the secret of their marriage slip, knowing it would eventually reach her grandmother's ears. Her so-called responsibility to Leo over the years had just been a cover for her own guilt. It was guilt that pushed her to offer him a home, to blindly side with him in every argument, while my heart bore the full brunt of her neglect. Leo suddenly knelt on the floor. "Clara, please don't say things you don't mean just because you're angry." Clara turned around calmly and said, "Leo, go back to the U.S. Don't ever contact me again." Behind her, the sound of heart-wrenching sobbing could be heard, but her steps didn't falter. Growing up always comes with a price. Thankfully, she thought, it wasn't too late to go back to Alex. Mia quickly arranged for me to be transferred to another hospital, claiming it was to keep any unwanted visitors away. It was pretty obvious who she was referring to, but to my surprise, Clara showed up the very evening I was transferred. The door opened just as Mia was spooning some medicine into my mouth from a bowl. Clara froze in the doorway, her eyes fixed on us, her lips moving slightly, but no words coming out. Mia and I exchanged a quick glance, making a silent decision to completely ignore her. Clara bit her lip, brought in some fruit and flowers, and said in a hoarse voice, "Alex?" Standing by my bed, her fingers clenched unconsciously. "Can we talk? Alone?" "No," Mia interrupted coldly. "You're not welcome here." Ignoring her hostility, Clara abruptly dropped to her knees beside my bed. With her head bowed down, she could barely bring herself to look at me. "Alex, I've been so wrong all these years. Whether you believe me or not, I want you to know the truth." I looked down at her, my voice steady and devoid of emotion. "I'm not interested." Her breath caught in her throat, but she kept talking quickly, probably in fear of being cut off again. "Leo's child is his ex-girlfriend's, not mine. 3 years ago, when I married him, it was just to rebel against my family. Later, I supported him purely out of guilt, and when I told you that I loved you, I meant it." She was already sobbing uncontrollably. "Alex, I've completely broken things off with Leo. Can you please forgive me?" I closed my eyes, pressing a hand to my throbbing temple, feeling a severe headache coming on. Mia immediately understood and began to gently massage my pressure points, her eyes shooting daggers at Clara. "A grown woman crying like this. What do you expect to accomplish? My fiancé needs to rest. If you're just here to put on a sad show, you can take it elsewhere." Clara acted as if she hadn't heard a word Mia said, her dark, tear-filled eyes locked onto mine. "Alex, if you just come back to me, I'll change everything about me that you don't like. I promise." "Enough!" I shouted, my frustration boiling over. "I've told you 1,000,000 times, our engagement is over. Why are you still hanging on? We're done, get it?" I grabbed the water cup from my bedside table and threw it at her. It struck her on the forehead, instantly drawing blood. She, however, seemed immune to the pain and twisted her lips into a smile through her tears. "Alex, if it makes you feel better, you can hit me all you want." The intense headache triggered a frenzied rage in me. I started throwing anything I could reach, medicine bottles, fruit, vases, directly at her. Clara didn't even try to dodge, letting the objects hit her, letting the blood stain the collar of her white shirt. Mia gathered me into her arms, softly kissing my eyelids. "Alex, be good. If you don't look at her, you won't be so upset. Just sleep. I'll watch over you." Soon, the medication pulled me into a heavy, dreamless slumber. With a stony expression on her face, Mia yanked Clara up by her clothes and dragged her out of the room. As soon as the door closed behind them, she picked up a metal garbage can from the hallway and swung it hard at Clara's head. Clara's vision blacked out as vegetable leaves and leftover broth dripped from her hair. She wiped her face, attempting to fight back, but Mia delivered a brutal side kick that sent her stumbling into the wall before she collapsed heavily on the ground, coughing up a mouthful of blood. Wiping the blood from her lips, Clara yelled, "You're a maniac! You can't just hit people. Have you forgotten how to use your words?" Nina looked down at her and suddenly smirked. "A 2-time loser like you who beats up men, and you think you have the right to reason with me? The sound of your voice is enough to trigger a headache in Alex. Did you ever stop to think about whether you even deserve to speak to him?" Clara froze, her pupils widening in shock. "Who exactly are you?" Mia grabbed her by the hair and leaned in close. "I'm the girl who grew up with him, the one who's been longing for him for years. I'm your nemesis, Clara." Clara suddenly burst out, So you two were getting cozy all this time? Mia slapped her hard across the face, sending her to the ground again. You and your filthy mouth. Yesterday you had the nerve to call me a wild woman. If he hadn't been so completely infatuated with you, did you really think I would have let you have him 5 years ago? Then, she lowered her voice, a smirk playing on her lips. But I should thank you for messing everything up. Now he's right back where he belongs, with me. With that, Mia turned and walked away. Clara struggled to get up to go after her, but 2 large bodyguards in black suits pinned her in place. Clara, the madam wants to see you. Kneeling before the statue of Buddha, Clara felt completely paralyzed. She had feared her grandmother her entire life, yet she constantly did things that infuriated her. The rhythmic sound of the wooden fish being struck stopped abruptly. The old lady clutched her prayer beads, her voice laced with ice when she spoke. Alex has come to formally call off the engagement. I now have a debt of gratitude that I will never be able to repay in this lifetime, she continued, lifting her gaze, her eyes sharp enough to cut through steel. You have 2 choices. Either you get out of this family, or you remarry Leo and keep away from Alex for good. Without a moment's hesitation, Clara coughed out, Grandma, I choose neither. The old lady's fingers tightened sharply around her beads, but her face remained eerily calm. Then I will choose for you. You are hereby expelled from this family. Clara jerked her head up, staring at her grandmother's unyielding face. Then she bowed deeply, her head touching the cold floor. All right. At that moment, as her forehead hit the ground, she felt an unexpected sense of relief. She could leave the family, but she could never leave Alex. As she stood up, Leo, who had been hidden behind the prayer flags, called out to her. Clara, you would rather be cast out of your own family than choose me. I loved you so much. I did everything I could to get rid of Alex for you. Why can't you see anyone but him? Do I have to die for you to even blink an eye? Without giving him so much as a glance, Clara walked out of the hall. Leo let out a bitter chuckle, then suddenly rushed toward the statue. The grandmother signaled to her guards to stop him. Do not desecrate this sacred place. Escort Leo out. During the rest of my stay in the hospital, Clara stopped by frequently. Sometimes she would be carrying bags from high-end fashion boutiques, claiming she had brought some clean clothes for me. Other times, she would have a thermos, saying a private chef had made some porridge specifically for my stomach. But each time she came, she would find Mia waiting for her, blocking her from entering my room with a cold, unwavering stare. In all the years we were together, she never once cared about these little things. She couldn't even remember my birthday. But she knew that Leo had a sensitive stomach and couldn't handle spicy food. Suddenly, I burst out laughing. Mia looked up from the discharge papers she was sorting, a bit puzzled. I was laughing so hard I was holding my stomach and rolling on the bed. Clara says I'm the love of her life. Can you believe that? That's hilarious, I managed to say between gasps of laughter. Mia suddenly dropped the folder she was holding and pinned me to the hospital bed, narrowing her eyes. Alex, it's fine for you to think about women, but not about that twice-divorced fool. I stopped laughing and asked her seriously, Really? It's okay for me to think about other women? She playfully pinched my earlobe. In your dreams. I rolled my eyes, then reached up and pinched her cheeks. Mia, surely it's okay for me to only think about you. She suddenly sprang up, the tips of her ears turning a bright red. Alex, you've become quite the charmer, haven't you? You know how to make a woman happy now. I picked up a pillow and threw it at her. She caught it steadily, a wide smile on her face like a cat that had just gotten the cream. You can only charm me. I'm a sucker for it. On our wedding day, I saw Clara sitting in the last row of the guest seats. She sat quietly in a corner, looking much thinner and extraordinarily haggard. As my new father-in-law walked Mia down the aisle towards me, Clara suddenly rushed onto the stage and blocked my path. "Alex, come with me." She reached out a hand to grab me, but I quickly dodged her. "Clara, you left me at the church last time, and now you're trying to ruin this wedding too. What did I ever do to you to deserve this?" She shook her head frantically, her voice trembling. "It's not that. I refused to remarry Leo, and my grandmother kicked me out of the family. I only have you now, Alex." "But I don't want you," I said, my voice cold, a humorless laugh escaping my lips. "I'm done with you. I'm sick of you. Please just leave my life for good." That seemed to sting her. She staggered back, her mouth slightly open, but she was unable to say a word. I slowly started to walk over to her, my fingers cracking. But Mia gently held me back, not wanting our wedding day to be completely ruined. My father-in-law spoke up, his face stern. "Clara, do I need to have another talk with your grandmother?" Clara's face went pale instantly. She knew that if the old lady was disturbed again, the consequences would be much worse than just being thrown out of the family. She looked at me miserably, her voice barely audible. "Alex, can we really not go back to how things were?" I didn't answer her. I just took Mia's hand tightly in my own and walked towards the wedding stage without looking back. Clara stood there in silence for a long time, under the disdainful eyes of all our guests, before eventually walking out, completely defeated. No one noticed Leo lurking outside the hall. He got to the parking lot first. When Clara appeared, walking in a daze, he drove the car straight at her without any hesitation. It was the same wedding car that Clara had so excitedly driven to pick him up from the airport that fateful day. Before he died from his injuries, he managed to get out of the car and throw himself into her arms, whispering, "Clara, you know that what Leo wants, he never lets go of, not even in death." The news of their deaths came as Mia and I were playfully arguing. We were trying to decide on our honeymoon destination, and our indecisiveness had escalated to me tugging on her ear and her pulling on my tie. The argument ended when I suddenly leaned in and gave her a quick peck on the lips. Mia instantly took charge, deepening the kiss. "Alex," she whispered against my mouth, "you've really got me wrapped around your little finger." "For life," I said, wrapping my arms around her waist. "Isn't that a good thing?" She nodded immediately, her eyes shining. "It's very good,"